Hare Krishna. So today we're reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we'll sing my favorite song about Lord Chaitanya. And the refrain, the part that comes again and again, is very easy. You all learn in 2 seconds. If you want to follow along, you just look on your device for Sundara Lala. Some people have translated Sundara Bala, but it's actually Sundara Lala. Either way, you can find it. Sundara Lala Sachidu Lala Nachata Sri Hari Kirtana Me Sundara Lala Sachidu Lala Nachata Sri Hari Kirtana Me Balle Chandana Tilaga Manohara Alaka Shobhe Kapolana Me Balle Chandana Tilaga Manohara Alaka Shobhe Kapolana Bolo Sundara Lala Sachidu Lala Nachata Sri Hari Kirtana Me Bolo Sundara Lala Sachidu Lala Nachata Sri Hari Kirtana Me Shire Juda darśana rale Vanapula mala ye pardole Shire Juda darśana rale Vanapula mala ye pardole Pairna pita patambara shobe Nupura runu junu sharanana me Pairna pita patambara shobe Nupura runu junu charanana Bolo Sundara Lala Sachidu Lala Nachata Sri Hari Kirtana Me Bolo Sundara Lala Sachidu Lala Nachata Sri Hari Kirtana Me Radha Krishna Ekatanu Hai Nirvana Maje Bansi Bajave Radha Krishna Ekatanu Hai Nirvana Maje Bansi Bajave Vishwarupa Ki Prabhu Ji Sahi Avata Prakatai Nadiya Me Vishwarupa Ki Prabhu Ji Sahi Avata Prakatai Nadiya Me Bolo Sundara Lala Sachidu Lala Nachata Sri Hari Kirtana Me Bolo Sundara Lala Sachidu Lala Nachata Sri Hari Kirtana Me Koi gavat hai Radha Krishna naam Koi gavat hai Hari Gunagan Koi gavat hai Radha Krishna naam Koi gavat hai Hari Gunagan Mridanga Tala Madhura Rasala Bajata Hai Koi Rangana Mein Mridanga Tala Madhura Rasala Bajata Hai Koi Rangan Bolo Sunera Lala Sasiru Lala Najata Sri Hari Kirtana Me Bolo Sunera Lala Sasiru Lala Najata Sri Hari Kirtana Me Nachata Sri Hari Kirtan Me Bolo Nachata Sri Hari Kirtan Me Bolo Sri Sachinandana Gaur Hari Jai Nitali Vishnu Mushripada's Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananda Guri Vaishnavini Ki, Sadgoswami Prabhu Ki, Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Sikho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go, Shama Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhana Ki, Brajabhumi Vrindavan Dham Ki, Grantara Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki, Nitai Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. We're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 2, starting with text number 25. If we can find it, let's see, this 22. 25, here it is. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda bhakti-yoge bhakta pāya yāṅhāra darśana sūrya yena savigraha dekhe deva-gaṇa bhakti-yoge. Let's see, this is Chaitanya Charitamrita. Bhakti-yoge bhakta pāya yāṅhāra darśana sūrya yena savigraha dekhe deva-gaṇa Bhakti-yoge bhakta pāya yāṅhāra darśana sūrya yena savigraha dekhe deva-gaṇa bhakti-yoge pāya yāṅhāra darśana yāṅhāra sūrya yena savigraha dekhe deva-gaṇa. Savigraha. Ladies? Bhakti-yoge by devotional service. Bhakta, the devotee. Pāya, obtains. Yāṅhāra, woos. Darśana, sight. Sūrya, the sun god. Yena, like. Savigraha, with form. Dekhe, they see. Deva-gaṇa, the denizens of heaven. Translation: through their service, devotees see that personality of Godhead, just as the denizens of heaven see the personality of the sun. Translation, please repeat. Through their service, devotees see that personality of Godhead, just as the denizens of heaven see the personality of the sun. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has His eternal form, which cannot be seen by material eyes or mental speculation. Only by transcendental devotional service can one understand the transcendental form of the Lord. The comparison is made here to the qualifications for viewing the personal features of the sun god. The sun god is a person also, who, although not visible to our eyes, is seen from the higher planets by the demigods, whose eyes are suitable for seeing through the glaring sunshine that surrounds him. Every planet has its own atmosphere according to the influence of the arrangement of material nature. It is therefore necessary to have a particular type of bodily construction to reach a particular planet. The inhabitants of the earth may be able to reach the moon, but the inhabitants of heaven can reach even the fiery sphere called the sun. What is impossible for man on earth is easy for the demigods in heaven because of their different bodies. Similarly, to see the Supreme Lord, one must have the spiritual eyes of devotional service. The personality of Godhead is unapproachable by those who were habituated to speculation about the absolute truth in terms of experimental scientific thought, without reference to the transcendental vibration. The ascending approach to the absolute truth ends in the realization of impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma, but not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhakti-yoge, pāya, yāṅhāra, darśana, sūrya, yena, sa-vigraha, dekhe, deva-gaṇa. Through their service, devotees see that personality of Godhead, just as the denizens of heaven see the personality of the sun. Om ajnana timirandasya gyananjana shalakaya chaksurun militam yena tasmai sri gurave namah. Sri Chaitanya manobhistam stapitam yena bhutale sayam rupa kadamayam dharati svaparanthigam aradhanascharandantai ridam yache puna puna Srimad Rupa Padambujo Duglisyam Janma Janmani Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchakalpatrubhyascha kripasindhuvaivacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So here in this verse, it describes what we hear over and over in Bhagavad Gita. Although Bhagavad Gita touches many different subject matters, karma yoga, dhyana yoga, ashtanga yoga, all these different things. But you'll see almost every chapter ends with, you must take to devotional service. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. I can only be known through bhakti. So he describes many different things, but he says only by devotional service can I be seen as I am. And it's described here just as easily, the devotees see the Lord just as easily as the denizens of heaven are able to see the sun god. We ourselves, if we look at the sun for too long, we'll burn our eyes out. Just like sometimes, we won't be visible here, but in a couple of days, there's a sūrya grahan, sun eclipse. It's always they have to put so many warnings in the newspaper and in the media that don't look at the sun without some protection. But still we're unable to see, even if we have protection, we're unable to see the personality. We just see the bright glowing disk of the sun, and when there's full eclipse and you see all the prominences coming out, so many things. So here it describes, but the denizens of heaven, they have a different type of body. They're on a different level of awareness than we are. They're able to see. Here it says very clearly, vigraha, sa-vigraha. We know vigraha means form. So they're able to see the form of the personality of the sun. You have to have a particular type of body to be able to do that. Just like this planet, if you study, 70% is covered by water. And our body, also 70% water. I think somebody calculated out there's like $5 worth of chemicals and a bunch of water. And we're so attached to this body. So our body is suited for living on this earthly planet. So just like we've got mostly watery type of bodies, so those people who live on the sun planet, they have fiery bodies. We can see the living entities, they can live in the water. There's so many fishes, we can't. But fish can live in the water, they have a particular type of body that's suited for that. Whereas he can't live on the land, take the fish out of water. We used to do this drama in the old days, The fish comes out of the water, you can give him so many things. You give him a nice, brand new iPhone 15 with those funny little earplugs that don't have any wires, wireless earplugs. You give a nice TV set. But doesn't care for all these things. He wants to go back to the water. Whereas we can't live in the water, they can. We live on the land, but they can't. So according to our bodies. So the people in the higher planets, due to their different types of bodies, are able to see the personality of the sun. So Prabhupada here points out the inhabitants of Earth. He gives them a little bit of, maybe they can go to the moon. He doesn't say they went there. He says maybe they can go to the moon. I heard one lecture one time. Prabhupada was talking about how most people think that we're very, very backward. We're studying these old scriptures from 5,000 years ago, and we're now, but now science, we have become very advanced, We can go anywhere and talk to people on our phone. Before you had to stay in your room and, connected to a wire, and you can only go as far as the wire. Now you can go anywhere and talk and read nonsense on the internet. You can do it. We're very advanced. And they say they went to the moon. They're trying to go to Mars. So Prabhupada said, first of all, you cannot go to the moon. You don't have a particular body suited for the moon. Then he gave them a little credit. All right, even if you can go to the moon, it's not that you can stay there. Just like they have to spend millions and millions of dollars to invent a spacesuit. Because here we have, atmosphere. If you go to the moon, there's hardly any atmosphere at all. If you're in outer space and somehow a little pinhole comes in your spacesuit, immediately all the air will go out, your blood will boil, and you'll squirt out that little hole. And then they had to spend millions of dollars, because in outer space, they claim anyway, that there's no gravity. So they had to spend millions and millions of dollars to invent some sort of a toilet that will work in outer space. Imagine passing your stool that goes floating in. So I think this is very advanced. So he said, first of all, you can go there. Then he gave them some credit. All right, maybe you can go there. But if you go there, you can't stay there. He said, even if you make some arrangement to stay there, he said, you will not get eternal life there. Birth, death, and ease and old age will follow you to the moon or Mars or Jupiter or wherever you want to go these days. He said, but our space program is you chant Hare Krishna, you take Krishna Prasadam, and we will go beyond the moon and sun and stars and all these worlds and go back to home, back to Godhead, and dance eternally with Krishna. So we're way advanced than them. They can try to go to the moon and Mars and all these things, but we're going beyond moon, Mars, sun, universe, all the way back to home, back to Godhead, and dance eternally with Krishna. We will get eternal life. So it's not that we're lagging behind. We're far more advanced. And our space program doesn't cost, billions and billions of dollars. They build these rockets, and they're trying to make rockets that they can use again and again, and so many things. They just waste so many billions of dollars. Just we have a nice feast with rasgulla, sandesh, pakoras, and samosas, puris, and paneer sabji, and you dance and chant Hare Krishna, and you go beyond their so-called space program. We're not that we're lagging behind. We're very advanced. They're the ones that are way behind. So the same way, we have to have some qualification to see God. I can remember, I can still hear the lecture in my heart, People ask, can you see God? Yes, you can see God, but that requires some qualification. It does not require that you become rich man, beautiful, wise, anything like that. No. Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena. You just have to have unalloyed love, that's all. And here he says that this ascending process will end in disaster. There's two ways to try to understand the absolute truth. One is descending, where we receive knowledge from higher authorities, or the ascending process, where we try to, on our own power, reach to the absolute truth. But if we try to scale the peaks of the absolute truth with our own mental power, those peaks are very slippery. We will slip off the side of that mountain and fall into the deep, dark hole of Mayavad philosophy. Our Baladev Vijayabhushan, in his Mangalacharan for Jiva Goswami's Tattva Sandarbha, he describes this Mayavad philosophy, this Yeshanka. What is it? I'm missing one word. Kutarka pashana bivarta kartena chaluptiritim sudam yadagbak shradaya maheshram Sri Krishnam sajivam prabhumastu nogati. So this is Baladev's Mangalacharan for Jiva Goswami's Tattva Sandarbha. He said, those shining glories, Maheshram Sri Krishna, the great Lord Sri Krishna, they were trampled in the mud, yeshanka, punk. Nowadays punk means something else, but anyway, in Sanskrit punk means mud. Just like you've probably met somebody named Pankaj. Panka, Ja. We know Ja, Janmastami. So who's born from the mud? The lotus flowers, where there's very muddy water, that's where they grow. Pankaja, Pankaj. So we have the... So they were trampled in the mud of this atheistic Sankhya philosophy. Ishanka Pankena, Kutarka Pashrana, Kutark, all the munis, they're always arguing with one another, trying to defeat each other. Everybody's trying to establish his own idea and defeat everyone else. So this Kutark, Tark means argument, Kutark, useless arguments. So he describes this as a dust storm. Just like very soon, April means that the dust storms will come. It's like now it's getting hotter and hotter, and it'll get hotter and hotter and hotter. And then all of a sudden on the western sky, you'll see this huge line of black clouds, and you'll see the streaks of lightning coming down, but it's too far away to hear the thunder. And, it's just pulling up dust from everywhere. There's this orange and reddish streaks in it, and you watch, and that line of clouds gets closer and closer to the horizon, keeps getting eaten away, and then suddenly all these birds come flying in front of this wind, and they're all flying and screeching, and then all of a sudden, bam, just dust is everywhere, and it gets in your eyes, between your teeth, and everywhere. So we'll see those, usually April means that we'll see those dust storms. Andi we call it, because we become anda, you can't see Andi. So this useless argument, Andi, like that, just like dust storm. Kutarka Pashrana, Pashrana means dust storm. Vivarta gartena chaluptididi, Vivartavad means Mayavad philosophy. Vivarta gartena chaluptiditim, they fell in the deep black hole of Mayavad philosophy. But Suram Virak Bhak Sudaya, by his pure nectarine words, Srila Jiva Goswami has rescued those shining glories of the great Lord Maheshwaram Sri Krishna. That Jiva Goswami is my Prabhu and the goal of my life. So we'll slip off the peaks of the Absolute Truth and fall into the Mayavad philosophy. It's not possible unless you're blessed by the lotus feet of pure devotee of the Lord. You cannot understand Krishna. You cannot get to that personal form. So that is descending. Just like now, the only nice thing about the summer is mangoes come. But the mangoes that are on the top of the tree where they get lots of sun, they ripen first. But if that ripe mango falls from all the way up there, or we throw it down from all the way up there, boop, it'll be spoiled when it reaches the bottom. So we have to make a whole line of people, one person on one branch, one person on another branch, another person on another branch, you know. And then one person plucks it, he hands it to the next one, he hands it to the next one, and we get to the bottom of the tree, we have the mango intact. And Narottam Das Thakur describes, he has one song, that if you try to avoid taking shelter of the devotees, it's like little kids, they're throwing rocks to hit the mangoes to knock them down. But actually the ripe mango, he's still very tight on the stem. The only one that will fall is the one that's rotten. You'll become a sahajya, rotten sahajya. So we have to get this knowledge. Prabhupada emphasized over and over in all these purports that we have to receive knowledge from higher authorities. I was sitting in the garden in Los Angeles, and some discussion came up that there was some 16-year-old avatar who was coming to Los Angeles. As Prabhupada explained, that because labor is cheap in India, they have a big mystic yoga factory where they produce gods, you know, avatars. You go in every city in the world, there's some avatar or some... They've all been exported because it's cheap labor here. So this so-called 16-year-old avatar was coming. So Prabhupada said, who says he's God? We ourselves, we accept the big guns. Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Ramanuja, Vishnu Swami, Madhvacharya. We accept the big guns. Who is told that he's God? Somebody actually finally, unfortunately it wasn't a devotee, but because he was claiming he was God, somebody went and just kicked him in the face. And Prabhupada said, why our men did not do this? So there's all these so-called gods. But if you want the real one, then you have to receive that knowledge through this explicit session from the big guns. Lord Brahma, he says very clearly, Ishvara Parama Krishna. Ishvara means controller, and Parama we know means supreme. He's the supreme controller as Krishna. He uses specifically this word, Krishna, Ishvara Parama Krishna. Sachidananda Vigraha. See, we got this word again, Vigraha. But he doesn't have a form. Sometimes people hear, oh, God's a person. And then he thinks, oh, he's got blood and stool and urine. Well, what kind of God is that with the body, you know? No, but his body, Sachidananda, his body's not made of stool and blood and muscle and pus and all kinds of things. His body is made of Sachidananda, Vigraha. Anadir, he has no beginning. Everybody always asks, where did God come from? But Anadir, he has no beginning. Now we can't understand that because everything we experience has a beginning and end. Adir, but he's the beginning of everything. Adir Govinda is another name is Govinda, who gives pleasure to the cows. Sarva karana, karana. He's the cause of all cause. What is the cause of God? But you go back and back, and you find that cause that has no cause, that is Krishna. But if you don't hear from the proper authorities, then you'll fall into that black hole of Mayavad. Just like we recite every day, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. Prabhupada came to smash all of this Nirvisheshvad and Sunyavadi. This, Buddhists, they say there's nothing. And Prabhupada said if to understand God, then you have to become silent. And Prabhupada said silent means like a dead stone. So if to understand God, I have to become a dead stone, I do not want to know what is God. I do not want to know. He said that He's beyond words means that we can go on talking about Him forever. We know Anantashesh with his 1,000 heads, he's trying to glorify Krishna since the time eternal and he's still not reached the end. That's what beyond words. But I had a different idea. I mean, we were also, somehow this Mayavad philosophy became very popular all around the world. So my friend and I, Sunshine, who later, of course, he was named Sunshine not because of the sun, but those from my area will understand. But anyway, he later became Srivas. We used to sit in the Rocky Mountains above Boulder, Colorado, and we'd speculate at the speed of the mind. And we'd always come to the same conclusion. It's beyond words. And then we look at each other frustrated. If it's beyond words, why did you say that? Or we come to the conclusion, there's nothing to be said. And then we look at each other, why did you say that, you know? So the first devotee I ran into was Bhavananda. And first challenge was, but Bhavananda, aren't we all God? Huh? He said, oh, you are God, and how you have forgotten. You know, he's a very dramatic personality. He's in the film industry, you know, before he was a devotee. Oh, you are God, and how you have forgotten. And I realized we used to ask ourselves the same question. We would take certain things that would so-called heighten the consciousness. We say, wow, I'm God, you're God, we're all God. How did we miss it all this time, you know? We never understood the purport of that question. How did you miss it all? Yeah, how did you miss it all the time? If you're God, even in the catechism, the first grade catechism class, the first thing they learn, God knows everything. In Mayavadi, big Mayavadi philosophy, study Vedanta, everything, and he's telling that you're God, but you have forgotten. And when you come out of illusion, then you realize that you're God. But you said everything is one, so how is there illusion and non-illusion? That means two automatically. As soon as you say that now I'm in illusion, when I'm out of illusion, then I realize I'm God. So that means there's two. There's illusion and there's truth. That automatically means two. So you're saying it's all one. So how is it all one? How, you know? So he said, oh, you are God and how you have forgotten. And I went, wow. And that was great relief too, because I was wondering, I was thinking I'm God, but somehow or other things aren't, you know, happening the way I want. I ended up in jail just for trying to climb to the top of the mountain, but it happened to be restricted forest area. And I tried to tell the ranger, well, I'm a child of God. This is my father's property. I'm walking on my own property. He says, you can tell it to the judge. And I was sitting in the jail. I say, I'm God. Huh? God can't be in anxiety. Wait a minute. So when Bhavananda revealed to me that I wasn't God, I said, no wonder nothing goes the way I want it to go. And then Prabhupada points out, he said, if somehow God can fall into illusion, then illusion is greater. Then illusion is God. That's what we say Mayavad. Because we're saying Maya is greater than God. If God can fall into Maya, then Maya is God. So Prabhupada with so many arguments, you read Prabhupada's books, you know, you just get filled with all these arguments, you know. But if you want to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as He is, then you have to hear through disciplic succession. In disciplic succession, it's not like, sometimes when we're little kids, there's a birthday party, we play funny games, and one of them is we sit everybody in a circle and we give some message to the first kid, and then he's to give it to the next and next. And by the time it gets over here, they're talking something completely different, Not haphazard like that. The guru, he takes his disciple and trains him very carefully. Then he trains his disciple very carefully. It's not a haphazard process like that. But this is a natural process for receiving knowledge. We hear from the big guns, Prabhupada said. Who's telling this guy, this 14-year-old guy, who's telling he's God? Ramanuja, Shankara, even Shankara is saying that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the big guns, Brahma, Shiva, they're all saying Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We accept the big guns. So if you want to understand Krishna, then you have to surrender, give up your pride that I know so much. Yeah? We don't know anything. We didn't even know how this body's working. You say it's my body, but I put the food in, I don't know what happens. Say it's my body, but I put the food in, I don't know what happens to it. I'm not sitting there directing the stomach. Now you have to secrete some acid, and you have to squeeze it like this and like that, and then you push it into the colon, and then the colon you have to do like the intestines. You have to do you have to go. I don't know. It's just all going on beyond. It's not in my control. So we have to give up our pride that we're independent, and receive knowledge through disciplic succession. Then we can understand Krishna as He is. Then we can understand Krishna as He is. So, anyway, there's a whole bunch of verses here with no purports or very little purports, so we'll go on. Jnana yoga marge tanra bhaje ye sabha brahma atma rupe tanra kare anubhava. Those who walk the path of knowledge and yoga worship only Him, for it is Him they perceive as the impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma. Those who walk the paths of knowledge and yoga worship only Him, for it is Him they perceive as the impersonal Brahman or the localized Paramatma. Purport. Those who are fond of mental speculation, Jnana Marg, or want to meditate in mystic yoga to find the absolute truth, must approach the impersonal effulgence of the Lord and His partial representation respectively. Such persons cannot realize the eternal form of the Lord. So Bhagavatam clearly describes there's 3 levels of God realization. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaneti, Shabdate. So the highest understanding is of the Supreme Personality. But if you follow, as I said, if you follow the Gyan Marg, you'll slip on the slippery slopes of Mayavad philosophy and fall into that black hole. So at most you'll understand that that it is all one, it is a great, I have seen God, it is a great light. And Prabhupada gave the example, simple example Prabhupada gives, so we can defeat all these crazy philosophies. It's just like there was some small village, so they lay down a train track to that village. Now these villagers had never seen a train before. It was a remote village. So the train was supposed to come, so it was a big deal. So everyone came out and they're waiting for the train and waiting. And as natural in India, the train was late. So it got dark. Finally, in the distance, they saw some light. So some of the villagers, they were impatient. They've been there all day. Now they ran into the town. Oh, we have seen the train. We have seen the train. It is a great light. It is a great light. Others were a little more patient. They waited. And then they could see there was some big engine making a lot of noise. And they ran back. We have seen the train. It is a big light. It is a big metal thing, and it makes noise and goes doo doo. And those who were most patient, they waited. And then the train came, and they met the conductor, and saw the cars on the train, and the people on the train. So like that aim is saying, they're all looking at the same, they're all seeing the same thing. But somebody says it's a light, someone says it's a sound, and somebody says, oh, there's a big machine with people in it and everything. So Brahman realization like that, just seeing from the distance a light. Just like we see a mountain from the distance. Oh, we say there's a big cloud. Looks like a big cloud. Then we get a little closer and then we begin to see that it's green. It's not black, it's actually green when we get close. It's very green, you know. And when we finally get to the mountain, we see there's tree and different types of trees. There's pine trees and oak trees and this type of tree and that type of tree and grass and squirrels and deer and buffalo and so many things. We see it all completely. So to get to that highest realization, then again we have to take shelter of the pure devotees of the Lord. There's no other way. Otherwise here it says very clearly, those who follow yoga and jnana, they can perceive impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma. Upasana bede jane ishvara mahima ateva sūrya tanra dieta upama. Thus one may understand the glories of the Lord through different modes of worship, as the analogy of the sun illustrates. Se narayana yasnera swarupa abeda ekahi vigraha kintu akara bibeda. Narayan and Sri Krishna are the same personality of Godhead, but although they are identical, their bodily features are different. Now we're getting some interesting philosophy here. Narayan and Krishna, abed, they're different, but akara, bibed, they have different forms. So Krishna and Narayan are the same, just like one man, when he goes to the courtroom, he's the judge. And everybody comes, Your Honor, I didn't do it, he did it. I wasn't even there. You know, he walks in, you know, everybody says, the Honorable Justice, you know, P.K. Sain is here, everyone's please rise, everybody stands up, and Your Honor, like that. When he goes home, it's not that they say, oh, the Honorable P.K. Sain has come, everyone stand. No, his wife comes and says, hi honey, how was your day? His little son comes, oh Papi, what did you bring for me, Papi? His neighbor leans over and says, hey buddy, how you doing? Same person, but they're seeing him in different ways and relating to him differently like that. So Krishna, all the Narayan forms are one and the same Krishna, but they have a different, we see them a little bit differently like that. Just like one man, we see him, he's in a courtroom, he's a big judge, and at home he's just a, you know, the Papi or honey or whatever. Same person. Inho tadvibuja tinho dare charikata, inho venu dare tinho chakradika sata. Oh, this is, this personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, has 2 hands and holds a flute, whereas the other, Narayan, has 4 hands with conch, wheel, mace, and lotus. Purport, Narayan is identical to Sri Krishna. They are in fact one and the same person, manifested differently. Oh, here Prabhupada gives, like a high court judge who is differently situated in his office and at home. As Narayan, the Lord is manifest with 4 hands, but as Krishna, he is manifested with 2 hands. So here's where we get this example of the high court judge. You know, when he goes in the court, you know, he's got the, you know, in the old days they had these special wigs that they wore and a special outfit that they wore, you know. He's the same person, but he's got, this funny white powder wig and all these funny suit on and everything. Same person, but he goes home, he's a different person. He's appears differently. So Krishna, he's got his two hands playing his flute. And Narayan has got his forearms holding conch shell, disc club, and lotus flower. But essentially one and the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, there's a big purport coming. We'll save it for the next person. So text 30. So is there any questions or comments or? Hare Krishna. We'll try to answer your inquiries. Oh, Panchagoda's not here, he's in the mountains. Huh? So he always has a question. Jigasu Baba. Everyone fell asleep in my class, there's no question. All right, here's a question. Yes? Where's our Bhakta mic? All right.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. My question is that you mentioned about ascending and the descending processes. Even in bhakti, there is some effort which is required. We have to push ourselves. Let's say there is fasting coming, or we have to do Vrindavan Parikrama or Govardhan Parikrama. We have to push ourselves. So what is that? We say that it is a process of receiving mercy. We are advancing by receiving mercy.
Yeah, it's not by doing all these things, but by following the instructions of the spiritual master. You can do hundreds and hundreds of Govardhan Parikramas, but that doesn't mean you're going to become Krishna conscious necessarily, unless you're you're taking shelter under the lotus feet of a pure devotee. And taking shelter under the lotus, this is just a flowery word that actually means to follow the instructions, Unfortunately, we're in the internet age. Everybody wants push button everything. So I just push on the toe button, bing, everything. No. To take shelter of the lotus feet doesn't mean to touch the lotus feet. It means to follow the instructions. Follow the instructions. And Prabhupada said, you just grab onto my dhoti and I will take you back to home, back to Godhead. It's described just like the cat and the monkey. We see all the monkeys here. So you've all seen how the little babies, they grab onto their mother's back, right? And she jumps from tree to tree. But somehow that baby's holding on by his own power, and he's very weak. So that sometimes we have seen it happen. The mothers jump and the baby goes, bam. Whereas the cat, she wants to take her babies from one place to another, so she picks them up with her mouth, with her power, and carries the baby and puts him in a clean place. Now this whole place is dirty, let's go to a clean place. So this yoga is like the monkey, and we're taking shelter of the devotees. This is like the cat. Still, Prabhupada said, God helps those who help themselves. For every step that you take towards Krishna, Krishna takes 10 towards you. So we shouldn't think that by my endeavor I'll become Krishna conscious. Just like I told the story the other day, Prabhupada said, I'm always praying to Krishna, please don't let me fall into Maya. We can't imagine a pure devotee falling into, but that's why, because he's always praying that Krishna, we're thinking, oh, it's not so bad, I got a nice house here in Vrindavan, and and there's some nice, go to Papri Charaya and get some fruit and vegetables and things, and it's not so bad. But we have to always be praying, Krishna, please don't let me fall into Maya. It's just like, we have seen so many people, just like as soon as you become a new devotee, you think, oh, I will never do that again. I'll never do that again. I will never go back to Maya. As soon as you say, I will never go back to Maya, you're already halfway there. You just put your chin so Maya can come with her combat boots with her metal cleats and go, pow! The pure devotee, he doesn't think, I will never follow. He says, Krishna, please don't let me follow. He knows how, just like as soon as I became devotee, first thing I did was I wanted to run back and make all my friends devotees. And the devotee said, no, you better stay here. You don't know how powerful Maya is. But I thought I was going to go back and see all my friends and make them devotees. After I stayed in the temple for a month and I was afraid to go anywhere, I understood how heavy Maya is, so we always have to make that much endeavor. But we endeavor under the guidance of the pure devotees. And we know that Prabhupada's last wish was to go on Govardhan Prikrama. So Govardhan Prikrama is a very good way to get Prabhupada's mercy. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the class. So what is the difference between atheism and the Nirvisheshvad and Shunyavad? The modern atheism and how does it fall? What is the relationship between the modern atheism and Nirvisheshvad and Shunyavad?
I couldn't understand. What was the question?
That what's the relationship between modern atheism and Nirvisheshvad, Shunyavad?
Well, at least the Sunyavadis and Mayavadis are following some rules and regulations. Atheism means that they don't follow anything. There's no God. This world is just by chance. Just enjoy and eat, drink, and be merry. Tomorrow you're going to die. And that's it. And once you're dead, you're dead. Just like Charvaka Muni says, anyway, anyhow, get money and buy ghee and enjoy. And when you're finished, then everything is finished. So the difference is at least the Mayavadis and Sunyavadis are still searching for the truth. Atheists have said there's no such thing as God. But you can't actually deny God because God means the absolute truth. So if your statement that there is no God is absolutely true, then there's absolute truth. You can't even deny the existence of God. Because you say there's no God, and that's absolutely true in all circumstances, then absolute truth exists. And then the agnostics, they think they're very noble. That there may be God, but there may not be God, but there's no way for us to know. This is just an excuse to go on trying to enjoy their senses. In other words, what they're saying is there may be God and may not be God, but we can't know. In other words, God cannot communicate. You're talking, you're writing all your books, you put your picture on the back of the book, but God can't communicate. The agnostics are telling that God has no way to communicate himself to the living entity. Yes. Bhagavad Gita means song of God. He has a way to communicate. You're not listening. They're nobly marching off. That I've just put my mind to it that there's possibility there could be a God, there's possibility there's no way to know, so let's just go on enjoying. At least the atheist is honest. Just, there ain't no God, I'm just going to do what I want. But nobody's able to do what they want. Ultimately, we strive so hard to get all these things, and at the time of the death, they're all gone. The time of death, we're thinking, but all this money, all my fixed deposits, all my bank accounts, they will stay in the bank. But I've got my big house. I made a big palace. I worked so hard, I made this big palace. That's going to stay where it is. But I have so many friends. They will walk with you up to the Shamsham Ghat. Your wife will follow you up to the door. Your friends will go up to the Shamsham Ghat. But you will go alone. Everything else will stay here. So we work hard for all these things, and at the end it's all taken away. Death comes and takes it all away. So Bhakti Vinod, he prays manasa deha geha jo kichu mor arpilum duapade nanda kishore. Manasa, my mind, my heart. Deha, we know dehe nos minnidahe. Deha means body. My heart, my body, deha. Manasa deha, geha is griha, house. Jo kichu more, whatever is mine. Arpilum duapade nanda kishore. I'm offering at your lotus feet. So you're going to have to surrender everything, either in great fear or with love. So better to take this path of love, offer everything to Krishna now, then at the time of death you have nothing to lose. You've offered everything to Krishna, including your very self. So Krishna, please take me. I have nothing except you. So either you offer it with love or you offer it with fear, but you're going to have to give up everything, even this nice body. So better to follow the path of love. Hare Krishna. So if there's no other questions, we can fall down to the very soft and wonderful lotus feet of that great personality who's brought this knowledge all the way down from Krishna to Brahma to Narada to four Kumaras down to our Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki.